welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited for today's video because I've got my hands on the new ABH Haze palette. I saw Trend Mood post a picture of this, a teaser of this, and I was like, I must have that. And it said available now, and then I went on the Sephora site, couldn't find it. Went on ABH's site, couldn't find it. Searched ABH Haze in Google, couldn't find it. And then I went back to the post and realized that this, at least at the time, I haven't checked the day that I'm filming, but this was only available on TikTok Shop, which I'm not really on TikTok. I don't really use the platform. I found in the past when I used it, it would just suck up way too much of my time, but I do still have the app on my phone. So I went onto TikTok, I went onto TikTok Shop, and I ordered the ABH Haze palette. I thought this was such a fun, little, pretty, cool palette with a pop of blue. And if you don't know, I do love a blue. I especially love a blue brown shade, so this shade really got me. And I just felt like the curated nature of this palette looked really beautiful and like something I could get a lot of use out of in my everyday life. I recently purchased the ABH Embers palette, which is also a 9-pan palette that pretty much looks like a dupe for the old ABH Mario palette. I posted a full dedicated review to that with 2 looks, so I'll leave that linked in case you're interested in checking that out. But I really enjoyed my time with that palette, and I said in that video that I feel like that palette specifically is something I could get a lot of use out of in my everyday life. I used to be a huge fan of the Huda Obsessions palettes, the little mini 9-pans, and this feels like basically ABH's version of that. There's definitely some other 9-pans I've had my eye on from ABH. They released the mini sultry, and then I want to say there's like a spice one and maybe one other one that I'm like, ooh, like I've always thought they look pretty. And so when I saw this, I was like, I must have this. So today I have 2 looks that I'll be creating with this palette. I have swatches that I will share with you as well, and I'll kind of give you my final wrap-up thoughts at the end of this video. In case you're interested in hearing a little bit more about the ABH Haze palette, you want to see some looks, then stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like palette content like this, or you just like to hang out and chit chat about makeup, that is what we do over on this channel, so I hope you'll consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. Okay, because this is only available on TikTok Shop, this is what ABH says on their TikTok. It says, "You fell hard for Embers, so we brought her bestie to the party. Say hi to the Haze mini eyeshadow palette, exclusive to TikTok Shop and exclusively in the Embers and Haze mini eyeshadow bundle, available now." I did not buy mine in a bundle. I just bought mine separately. It retailed for $32 on TikTok Shop for me. I did not pay shipping. I paid $2.84 in taxes, so ultimately I ended up paying $34.84. Yes, and 84 cents for this eyeshadow palette. The ABH Embers palette has those warm, kind of glowy, bronzy, neutral shades, whereas the Haze palette, in contrast, is a cool-toned, ethereal sort of palette with kind of those deeper, smoky shades, but also the icy sparkle. For someone who loves both warm and cool tones, both palettes really spoke to my heart. And as I mentioned, I do love blues, so anytime there is a pop of blue, especially a blue-brown shade, I am going to be interested. I will also say the middle kind of taupey, lighter rose gold taupey sort of shade also really caught my attention, and I had so much fun creating 2 looks with this palette. Yes, it is a 9-pan eyeshadow palette, so you're not going to get the most diverse range of looks from it. I also think, like, with only 3 shimmers and 6 mattes, and most of those mattes being kind of like mid to light toned, with the exception of like obviously the dark navy blue, you're not going to get a million different looks with this. But sometimes I like something a little bit more curated, something I don't have to think so hard about, something where, you know, I'm not making what feels like the most amount of decisions in what to do with my eyeshadow. Sometimes I like something like that, especially for day-to-day. I think this would make a great travel palette as well. This is something that I really feel like you could go really simple with. Just do 1 matte shadow in the crease, maybe 1 matte, 1 shimmer. You can also use a bunch of different shades to create something a little bit more detailed, smoky, intricate, but ultimately it is just a 9-pan eyeshadow palette, so keep that in mind. You do get a nice mirror with this. It is plastic packaging, but it feels like packaging that I wouldn't be worried about my shadows breaking. So I feel like this would make a great travel palette as well. That being said, I don't have a lot more to say about the palette. If you have any questions that I don't answer in today's video, leave me comments down below, ask your questions, and I'll be happy to answer. But let's jump into the 2 looks that I created using this palette. All right, you guys, we are here to do our first look with the ABH Haze palette. I'm so excited. I feel like this palette looks so beautiful. I love that it's a little bit more cool toned. I love that we have our pops of blue. Honestly, I never got the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes 2, but this is reminding me of what I remember that palette being, like same color story vibes. Today I do have to go to work, so I'm actually not gonna play with the blues in the first look. I'm gonna try and do something a little bit more simple. And I think maybe I'll play with like these and these, and then I'll save the blues for look number 2. So I'm gonna start out by jumping into this lighter cool toned shade up there. That would be this shade, I believe A3. Lots of kick up, as usual, I feel like with ABH. So I'm really going to tap my brush off, and I really just want this to be a very kind of simple look. I honestly feel like these little 9-pan palettes from ABH are just so nice for on the go travel and just like every day. I really enjoyed the Ember palette, and to be honest, I'm kind of interested in some of the other 9-pans that I didn't pack up. I just feel like they are just really nice and handy for every day. I am kind of starting to think about my eyeshadow palette declutter. I'm not exactly sure if that's gonna go up in December or still at the end of November yet. I haven't filmed it. I was planning to save filming for the end of December, but a part of me thinks I may end up doing my eyeshadow declutter a little bit sooner, but I'm probably planning to get rid of quite a few, if not all, of my Huda 9-pan palettes. Just I feel like they're getting older. I feel like the quality is starting to decline. And so then I feel like I'll have space in my eyeshadow collection for more minis, obviously, because the purpose of decluttering is just to bring more in, right? I'm kidding. That should not be my mindset. But I want to say it's like the Spice palette, the 9-pan ABH Spice. I thought was really pretty. I definitely had my eye on that one. I know they have like a little mini sultry, I believe, which I did pan my sultry in the past. I was not a very successful, oh my gosh, what do they call it? Pan that paletter. But I did use, I use that palette a lot, and I think I love the color story. I wouldn't mind necessarily having that color story again, and I wouldn't obviously be doing a pan that palette with it, so I wouldn't have to use it every day. Okay, there's that shade on the eyes, a really nice cool tone. Kind of reminds me of what I remember Twig from the ABH Sultry palette being like. Then I'm going to take B3, which is this shade right here. Also a decent amount of kick up on that one. I did do my makeup first today, and I'm going to work. Ooh, she's being so risky today. Usually I do my eye makeup or my eyeshadow first. I'm just gonna press that into the outer corner of my eye here. Don't want anything too dramatic for work, especially because sometimes dramatic cool tones can really escalate quickly. And then I'm just gonna go back into A3 and use that to just soften the edge here and blend those two together. Perfect, nice, quick, simple, and easy. I'm gonna take some of my NYX glitter glue. I'm down to like the last little bit of this. I did find a backup of this at Ulta. That's the only place I can find the NYX glitter glue right now, which concerns me a little bit just because this is my favorite glitter glue. I hope they're not getting rid of it. And I'm going to tap that along the majority of my lid, but not quite bringing it all the way out. And then I'll give that just a minute to kind of get tacky and dry down. All right, then I'm gonna take this middle shade here, which looks like such a beautiful kind of taupey champagne. This is in the shade B2. And I'm gonna tap that just across the majority of my lid. I am gonna leave just the matte shadow in the very outer corner. Okay, that looks like such a smooth, beautiful shade. Oh, I love that. I am noticing a bit of fallout here actually from that shade, but I haven't noticed fallout from any of the matte shades, which is interesting. Okay, I'm gonna zoom you guys in even more. I don't know if you'll be able to tell like just how smooth that is, but that is so beautiful and such a nice shade. Then I'm just taking a small clean brush and I'm gonna take a little bit more of the lightest matte and I'm gonna use that to kind of blend the edge here, just because I don't want anything too dramatic. I'm gonna take my dark brown Ilia eyeliner. This is in the shade Dusk in my waterline. And then I'm gonna take some of the shade A2, the more like white silver. And this looks more just like almost like a scattered shadow, which I'm gonna, actually I wonder if I take a fluffy brush. I might take a little Alter Ego 201 brush, just because I do want more of that like scattered sort of effect rather than like an icy white effect. I'm just going to take that on this brush and kind of just tap it onto the inner part of the lid. And I am going to bring that one up just so you can kind of see that in the inner corner. Okay, I feel like I'm not doing a good job of like tapping to get that scattered light effect, but that also does look like a really beautiful shade. I am definitely getting some fallout though of sparkle, but that's okay. I'm gonna bring that around the inner corner, and I don't know if you can tell, that looks, oh, maybe you can't tell in the light. It looks like it might be, I don't know if like a more fragile shade would be the right way to put it, but looks like it's already almost kind of creating like a crater within the palette, just because I think it is a little bit more maybe like loosely pressed. Okay, I definitely did not do a good job of doing like a PC light sparkle, but I'm gonna see if I can tap it out a little bit with my finger. I still think it's very pretty. I do want to add something to my waterline. I just personally like, I do want to add something to my upper lash line. I don't know why, but I just feel like everything looks better when I have a liquid liner on my lash line, on my upper lash line. So I'm going to take Caviar from Lawless, which is a black. And then I'm just going to take a little bit more of the A3 shade and I'm going to smudge that along the lower lash. Again, nothing too dramatic, just lightly. And then I'm just gonna add mascara and we'll have a final look. All right, I will zoom you out, but here is the first final look using the ABH Haze palette. Just something very quick, simple, and easy, but I feel like this would match so much and you really could wear this like, honestly, like day or night. Okay, turn down the lights a little so you can see maybe a little bit more of the sparkle that you get from it. Very pretty. I feel like my face is looking a little dry, but I think that's from my prep today and my foundation. But this is the first and final look using the ABH Haze palette. So far, really happy with this, really pleased. I like a little curated 9-pan palette. I think it's just, there's so much less to think about maybe, especially when it is like a palette like this that's pretty curated. There's not a lot of different, wow, my heat's loud. All right, I took that opportunity to add a more sparkly lip too. There's not a lot of different directions you could take this. You know, it's not like there's a ton of different directions you can take this, but sometimes it just makes creating looks a little more mindless and a little bit easier, especially for day to day. So I am very pleased with that first look. I really like those two shimmers. I think they're extremely smooth. It's kind of like that classic timeless sort of beauty. I think so pretty and really pleased with the first look. You guys will have to let me know what you think of the first look, but let's get on to look number 2. We are back for look number 2 with the Haze palette. I did just add some pink lights to the back, so I hope you guys enjoy. But those obviously weren't there for look number 1. I am super excited to dig into the blues. I tried to do something a little bit less warm for my blush. I was looking back at the like makeup from yesterday. I felt like my eyes were really cool and the rest of my face was like cool toned and the rest of my face was more warm toned. I also am deciding that I don't think I love the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Foundation. Like I think it just makes my skin personally look a little bit too dry, but that's for another time and place. Today I'm going to try and use all remaining shades that I haven't used. So I think actually it's pretty much just this L of shades. I do have the Ulta Beauty eyeshadow primer on, but I think today I will prime my lids using the shade A1. Again, lots of kick up. I feel like ABH is just kind of known to have, oh boy. Okay, that's maybe a lighter shade than I was expecting. Honestly, that would probably make a good inner corner, like a matte inner corner highlight for me. Okay, that was, I definitely picked up a little bit too much there too. I am way too up close and personal to my face right now, and I just do not like the state of my skin right now, but that's okay. It just looks so dry. Okay, before I move on, I'm actually gonna spray some of the one size powder melt on. I just do not love the way that my skin is looking right now. All right, then I'm gonna take the shade B2 or B1, the shade right here. So much kick up in that. That is just, okay, that is a ton. Like that is like lightly tapping in, and there is so much powder kick up in that. So that, normally I like really don't care about a lot of kick up. I always say I do my eyeshadow first, typically. Obviously not, sometimes not for these types of videos, but every day in my personal life I'm always doing my eyeshadow first. But like this is an excessive amount of kick up. Like this, I would say even like annoys me. Also, I don't think I meant to use this brush too. I'm gonna switch brushes. I'm gonna use probably a brush that's gonna create even more kick up. That's okay, that's kind of wild. This is giving like subculture gate vibes, and I'm noticing that kick up is like spreading into my other shades. And not that I was being like super careful, but I feel like I wasn't trying to cross contaminate my shades. I'm gonna zoom you guys in here in just a minute. I don't have to go to work today, so we can do something a little bit more dramatic with the eyeballs. Okay, I still feel like that shade is reading pretty cool toned on me. I'm curious how this shade is gonna read. Like it could go neutral or warm in my opinion. I'm gonna take that on a MAC 217. That's in C1. That one doesn't have, I mean, it still has kick up, but it's not quite as much as B1. Tapping that onto the outer part of the eye. I feel like there's not a lot of like difference in depth maybe between these two shades. I think this shade would also work as just like an all over lid shade. I feel like I'm not noticing like a ton of difference between those two maybe. We'll see what happens when I blend out. Okay, I'm noticing my eyebrows desperately need a pluck. Building just a little bit more because I do want this to be a little bit deeper. I am definitely noticing some fallout as well, which is not surprising just based on like, even like looking at the table that I like get ready at, like just from like tapping my brush off like this, there's so much like shadow dusted on my table. I'm like, dang. I actually think I might go in with a little bit of the lightest shade to try and soften the edge here a little bit. I wish I would have gone in with a cleaner brush, like a clean brush for that. Okay, dipping back into B2. I'm like actually, like I actually am annoyed at how much, that's too much kick up for me. Blending those two together, and obviously like we are creating some depth. I just don't feel like there's a ton of difference between B1 and C1. But they blend together nicely as well. Like I feel like that doesn't look like muddied up together or anything. Okay, I'm gonna pause here with the brown shadows, and I'm gonna go in with C3, which is this blue. I haven't swatched the blue yet. Okay, that is more of just like an actual matte blue. I was like, I don't know if this is like a satin or a true blue. That is a nice like dark navy though. I'm a little bit nervous because I feel like some blues can like go either way. Like sometimes I feel like they're really dry and chalky. Other times I feel like they work really well. So I'm gonna go in with just a little brush here, taking a little of the blue. There's kick up, but not nearly as much as the other two. I'm trying to decide, do I want to just do like a smudged blue, or do I want to do something, do I want to just do like a smudged blue on the lash line? I might start there and see what that looks like. Okay, switching to just a flat brush, and I think I'm just gonna, no, definitely got some fallout. That's shame on me for not tapping my brush off. Okay, I'm gonna stamp that on the lash line here. Like, how do I get into the inner part of my eye? Okay, I hate this. This eye waters so bad. Like, I swear the corner of my eye is just like more open. Oh no. No. Okay, that sucks. That actually sucks so bad. Tapping a little concealer where I just clearly like wiped blue shadow all over. Okay, that really sucks. We're just gonna roll with it though. There's like, we'll just try and fix that at the end. I think I'm gonna take like pencil-y brush like this, take a little bit more of that blue on it, and I'm just gonna like smudge this, make this a little bit more dramatic on the lower lash line. Nothing crazy. I don't really know what my plan is and why I want to do this. This is not something I normally do with my eyeshadow, like not a technique I normally do. Definitely getting some blue fallout. What I was gonna say over on this eye though is like this corner of my eye leaks so badly. And by the end of most days, it's like I do have like eyeliner and eyeshadow like just basically like stuck in this corner of my eye. Does anyone else experience that? And do you have any tips or tricks for combating that? This eye is just so much more watery too than my other eye for whatever reason. I'm so annoyed about this. I am gonna take some NYX glitter glue. I also don't know how I got like blue shadow. Well, I guess I did swatch. I guess I did swatch. How did I get that everywhere? Okay, I tapped a little bit more powder over here. I don't know if, I like genuinely don't know if we're gonna totally fix that today, and it's just gonna have to be okay. All right, I'm gonna take my NYX glitter glue and I'm going to lay that down across the entire lid today. And then I'm gonna take C2, which looks to be that kind of metallic blue brown. And I'm gonna take this, I think like on the outer like 2/3 of my lid. Like so. Ugh. This is a palette that I definitely would do my eyeshadow first no matter what going forward. I do think that blue brown shade is really pretty though. What would also be pretty, like if we were using more than just this palette today, is the shade Fembot from REM, like on the, like layered over top of this. Just because that like has a bit of like a bright, almost like a brighter effect. Almost like a bright tealiness to it. It's such a pretty shade. All right, then I'm gonna take this shade B2 on the inner third. Like so. And I will layer those two over top, kind of to about like the halfway point of the lid. I really like this shade B2. That's such a pretty lighter taupey shade. Just taking a small clean brush, I'm going to take just a little bit more of B1. And I'm just going to run that along the crease just to kind of soften the edge where those shimmers meet the mattes. I don't know if you guys can you see like can you see the water coming out? It's so annoying. I feel like I've heard people say to put glue in the outer corner. I'm gonna try the slightest amount. Might regret I'm putting a little bit of glue there. No clue if that's gonna make a difference. All right, then I think I'm gonna take I want to get just like the lightest fluffy amount of the shade A2. So I'm gonna take an even bigger brush than we tried with yesterday. This is a Morphe M514. And just like tap it in, get a little bit of like a dusting of that shade. And just like kind of tap that on the center. I don't know if you can see all the fallout from that sparkly shade. Oh well. I don't know if that made much of a difference at all, but we're just gonna do the same thing on this eye. For the waterline, I just got this pencil from Victoria Beckham. I've heard so many rave reviews about the Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal Jewel Eyeliner, and I picked up the shade Cocoa, is it Cocoa Pave? P-A-V-E with the thing above it. Haven't used this yet, so. And this is like a brown, almost like a taupey metallic brown. Like a brown with like a bit of taupey sparkle to it. That is going in the waterline quite nicely. Then it like makes you wonder, like, have I been using a not great eyeliner this whole time and I could have had something so much better and so much easier to use? For the lower lash, I actually think for the lower lash, what I'm gonna do is I wanna stamp the shade C2, that like blue-brown shade. I wanna stamp this across almost the entire lash line. I'll leave like the inner corner of the lash line blank for now. Kind of just like matching what we did on the lid. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of C1 and I might mix it a little bit with A1. A1 has so much kick up too. I'm just gonna use that combo to smudge this out just a little bit. And then on a small pencil brush, I'm taking A2, that like very sparkly snowy shade, and I'm gonna use this on the inner corner again today. But I'm not gonna like swoop it up like I did yesterday, or maybe I want to, actually. Maybe I want to, a little bit. Sure, why not? And I'm gonna bring that down on the inner part of my lash line too. All right, and then we will just add liner and lips. No, not liner and lips, mascara and lips. And we will be right back with a final look. All right, mascara and lips are on. Let me turn down the lights maybe, so you can see the sparkle. I do really like the way that this look turned out. I'm glad that we didn't do the like blue. Like typically I would just do like lighter mattes and then a darker shadow on the outer corner, which obviously we still did a little bit, but I'm glad that I just did a little bit of that blue shade as a liner, oops, as opposed to like a darker, I don't know, just like a darker look. This is something that like I could even see myself wearing to work. Like this isn't something I would be super uncomfortable wearing to work. Is it a little bit dark and dramatic? Maybe. But I think it's really, really pretty. I feel like it's a more subtle, I was gonna say maybe it's like a more subtle take on blue or blue brown, this palette in general. But overall, I'm really pleased with the palette. I will say, now that we've used every single shade, I will say it does annoy me how much kick up there is. I don't remember quite as much kick up in the Embers palette. I think of the two, of Embers versus Haze, I really will say I do like all three shimmer shades in this palette, especially this middle shade I think is so freaking beautiful, and just that shade I feel like could get a lot of use. I think this palette overall is something that I could also get a lot of use out of. I will say I think the Embers palette is just like a little bit more fun, a little bit more versatile, whereas this is just kind of like a cool tone palette with like a pop of blue, which is okay, Honestly, it's gonna be personal preference because the Embers palette has more warm shades, whereas this strictly does feel mostly cool. I think this is the only shade that you could get away with being neutral, depending on like if you wore this by itself. Still think that this is a beautiful palette. You guys will have to let me know what you think of this look and the two looks overall, whether the Haze is a palette that you'd be interested in picking up, what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from you. I am still interested in potentially picking up these little 9-pan palettes from ABH. I will say have me curious. I feel like these are something I could find very functional use for in my everyday life. Something like this is just easier for me when I'm either on the go or day to day at work when I don't want to think about my eye looks too much. Something like this is just so easy. I like how compact it is. And I like that it's compact, but you're still getting 9 shades. It's not like a little like 6-pan or something like that. Like you are getting truly 9 total shades. So I'm really pleased with my purchase of the Haze palette. My only complaint is the kick up I think is a little excessive. But aside from that, I think this is a really fun little curated cool tone palette with a pop of blue. As always though, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting me and my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.